Hello YouTube, Shintigercurl here, that dude in straw hat, bringing you yet another awesome video. It is now 10:32 a.m. Thursday morning here in Houston, Texas. You know what that means when I tell the date and the time? It's time once again for me to read the latest chapter of One Piece. Last week, several bombshells got dropped on us about the origins of the poneglyphs and their connection to the Wano country, as well as finding out that Momonosuke is actually royalty, and a few other things. So, with that, it's time for us to move on to One Piece chapter 819, Momonosuke, the heir to the KOUZUKI clan. And of course, the cover art. The cover is, of course, continuation of the deck from the Decks of the World, 500 Million Berry Man arc, Volume 12, The Future Country, Baltimore. And for those of you who remember, Baltimore is the tech country that Frankie spent his 2 years developing new tech for the Straw Hat Pirates, as well as redesigning his body. And it's also the place where it was the home country of Dr. Vegapunk, the world's leading scientific genius. So, with that out of the way, let's get to the story proper. Okay, of course we got some nice fan art, nice little art of Law surrounded by hearts, Luffy, of course. Now, and of course we continue with the revelation that Momonosuke's father, the old shogun of the Wano Kingdom actually went with Gold Roger to Raftel, the last island of the Grand Line, and we remember that. And of course, Luffy is interested because he exclaims that to Momonosuke that his father was a part of Gold Roger's crew. And Robin says that one of the few that learned the secret of this world, just like Rayleigh. And we flash back to, of course, Silver's Rayleigh, the coding mechanic, as well as the former first mate of the Jolly Roger Pirates, and a pretty badass old man. So, and of course, he mentioned in the Shabayoni Archipelago arc a long time ago that he and the crew of the Jolly Roger Pirates did discover the truth of the history of the world, particularly the Void Century. So anyway, Zoro says, "I see. So this is the secret of the world that they were trying to weasel out of you. Kaido's underlings, Doflamingo and Caesar, I mean. That's why they were trying to hunt you down." And Kuniman says, "Your logic is sound. The thing is, Lord Odin decided not to burden us with that secret. We don't know anything, and even if we did, we would never speak of it." And Kanjuro says, "At any rate, whether or not we do or do not know, our enemies will still pursue us. So our only choice left is we have to fight. Lord Odin left us these words: 'Open the borders of the Wano country,' and it's said by all the samurais and the two dukes. So they really took these words to heart. We, those who should have been Lord Odin's shields, by some twist of fate, we ended up being the ones protected by him. Now that we bear the shame of living on with our Lord, we must do but one thing: stake our lives on seeking justice for him.'" That's loyalty. Here comes Raizo. That is, kill the shogun of the Wano country and open the borders of the country. Now, my last video about this, I kind of made a mistake. I thought that because of how it was worded, that the shogun of the Wano country and Kaido were the same guy. It's actually two different people. It was just the wording. I apologize for anyone I've misled with this. My bad. So anyway, they say that's their only desire. They want to open up the borders. And Kunaman says that the country is oppressed both by the shogun and Kaido, who have joined forces. And though those who harbor sentiments of rebellion have begun to gather, compared to the armies of the enemy, we are but puddles before an ocean. Good analogy. But they still want to win. And we left on our voyage to find comrades in arms to fight. we first set our sights on Zoo, because of course they're very good friends, and apparently extremely loyal to them, since their entire country got wrecked out of loyalty for one man. So Duke Inu says that the KOUZUKI and the mink races have since vowed to share each other's fates. Neku adds, more importantly, Inu and I are both retainers directly under Lord Odin himself. From the day Raizo showed up on the island, the warriors of this island were prepared to give their lives. But when it came time to fight, we were absolutely routed. That too was just one of Kaido's squads. So yeah, that shows you how powerful Kaido is. I mean, this guy, Jack the Drought, the guy that wrecked their country, he was worth 1 billion berries, and he was just an underling of the guy. Kaido, whew. So anyway, Frankie says, because of those bastards used that foul weapon of theirs, he's talking about the poison gas. Inu says they were able to come to terms with losing to underhanded tactics of a cowardly enemy. But next time, things will be different. We won't make the same mistake twice. We have our trump card. Next time we fight, we'll show them the true strength of the minks. Kuniman wants to ask Luffy something, as well as a law, it seems. Pains me to ask favors of you after you both saved our lives, but my comrades and I are in awe of your strength. If our paths and desires are one, in the coming fight with Kaido and the Shogun of Wano Country, we humbly request your help. Ooh. Of course, Luffy, has his blank expression. Usopp is pumped up, surprisingly. And of course, because they have now a force of samurai and minks to work with. And Luffy says nope. And Usopp is beating the crap out of him because he's asking if he's lost his damn mind. And he's trying to convince Luffy, forget everything he said about that. Just sit tight while I beat some sense into this idiot. Nami, of course, says Luffy's got a point. But she says first comes negotiations. And she's in her berry mode. For those of you who don't know, when Nami is thinking about money, her eyes will turn into berry signs, which are dollar signs for One Piece, which means she's thinking about that moolah. And everybody's like, pump the brakes, baby, pump the brakes. And Luffy's screaming like, what are you, some kind of figurehead, Momo? You said it. You're some huge big shot, right? You're the leader of all these great warriors, right? Yet all you do is cry. And of course, Nami slaps the shit out of him. But yeah, that's just how Luffy is. He doesn't like crybabies. He doesn't like people who just sit around and do nothing but cry instead of just. That's just how he is. And Brooke speaks up. Until they actually become adults, heirs, until they become adults, are not required to really do much. It's their job of the adults around them to assist them. And Nami says that that's right. All for that dear Momo. Our captain is really a meanie. And Brooke says that Nami is the one adult that should not be around him. And he starts wiping his tears, and he's remembering, I guess he's having some words from his father. You will never be able to learn about it in entirety, that this is the real world. We are surrounded. I mean, they're having some flashbacks of his father and dying. And they're saying we've got to run to a safe place we can go. And he says that your father is a foolish lord. And Kunim and Momonosuke screams out, I want to beat Kaido! Kaido is the enemy of my parents. Even my mother fell by his hand. Even I wish to become an adult, big and strong, so I can get vengeance for my father and mother. I want to protect my retainers. And of course, and even Inu and Neku are moved to tears because they're both big softies. So he continues, I'm small, but I am small. I cannot. That's why I wish for you to fight alongside us, Luffy. Please, I'm begging. And Luffy, before he stops him and raises his head, and he says, that's more like it. Let's join forces. An alliance. I'll take down Kaido for you. See? That's all Luffy wanted. He wanted Momo to ask him himself because he's technically the leader. And of course he thanks him, and of course Luffy says you're supposed to shake his hand, not cry into it. And Kuriman says that even though he sounded off to a mere 8-year-old, I guess so more so than any of us, Luffy thinks Lord Momonosuke is an adult. And they're all admirable about it. So, and of course, Law speaks up. What about your faith in me? You never asked for my opinion. He's like, but you're fine with it, aren't you? That's not the point. And it's like, all right. In order to beat the living crap out of Kaido, we hereby form the Ninja Pink Mink Alliance. That's a mouthful. Just a heads up, guys. You don't have to bow your heads to us ever again or kneel. Being an alliance means being friends. Law says that's not even close. This is so silly. He's like, I'm fine with the alliance and everything, but I got one condition. And Raizo says he should have mentioned this before, and he's like, and Luffy's like, we're actually missing a member of our crew right now, meaning Sanji. And of course, Inu's been informed of this about the whole situation with Sanji. I'm gonna go and bring him back. Until then, I want everyone to wait and not start any trouble. Besides, Sanji's super strong. He's pretty much worth 1,000 people. And Inu's like, is that so? You'll be going up against an emperor. It's not like I'm gonna fight her. I'll be fine. I'm going with Pecoms, of course. And of course Zoro just had to chime in. Just so we're clear, I'm worth 2,000, right? Even when he's not there, he has to fight him. And Inu's like, Pico Mamushi? So anyway, we return to the Guardian Residential District. And the Minks are talking among themselves. You got that right. A long time ago, Duke Inuyasha and Master Neko Mamushi were said to have been the best of friends. But one day, they returned after a very long journey, barely clinging to life. It was back before Carrot was born. And Wanda says even in that state, they were at each other's throats. They almost killed each other. So it must have been, it's a great miracle that those two could agree on anything, considering how much they're at each other's throats. Uh-oh. And we got some trouble on the horizon. A bunch of ships are returning to Zoo. Apparently Jack and his boys are returning. And of course Jack's like, thank you for pointing out the obvious dumb ass. That's exactly what he said. Blasted thing, can't believe I had to come here again. And he's like, Sheephead, Raizo isn't here, you said. I find it hard to believe that you found it acceptable to return with such an answer. The Minks are our hardy folks. What if the ones that managed to escape the gas treated the others? Yeah, Sheep's Head, one of his subordinates who could turn his fists into sheep's heads, I guess, really got beat up. And of course the female member of the group, she can't actually say to Jack that they got driven out. If they're all still half dead, we'll simply go in and finish the job. Pity a troublesome thing. The dead do not seek revenge. Let's see, and they think they're all weakened. There's no need to rush anywhere. I'll just kill this huge elephant. Ooh. Ooh. That's not good. That ain't good at all. And that's the chapter. So, what have we learned? Not much happened in the way of revelations, but what we do have is that the Straw Hats have formed an alliance with the Minks and the rebel samurai of Wano country, forming the Ninja Pink Mink Alliance. There's that. We learned a little bit more about Momonosuke's father and what have you, and we now know that Jack and his crew have returned to Zoo with hope and seem to be planning to kill the very elephant that the country lives on. Things are going to get heavy in the next few issues. So yeah, that's my video. Like what you see? Link, comment, subscribe below. Got any questions, comments, or want to discuss these new startling events that are happening in the world of One Piece? Leave it below. I will get back to you. Supporting the channel, as always, tip jars in the corner. Patreon's in the description. As well, if you want to hit me up on Twitter, as always, hashtag Captain Luffy. It's in the description below. So until next time, and Shintigercurl, that dude in the straw hat, saying good day. And they really need to come up with a shorter name for that alliance.